going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Basketball Adjacent Podcast. I'm your host, Jerrold Smith, brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network. We are outside, man. We're in Los Angeles. The world is open. This is my very, very first in-studio podcast, man. I got a very special guest from here today. My boy Miki from the Mag Park. Miki, what's up, man?
What up, man? What an honor.
Hey, man, I appreciate you for making the trek down to Culver City and sitting with me. I was hooping with Miki yesterday, and he was telling me, he was like, man, I'm a head out from the valley, and hopefully it won't take too long, but I hope you don't have to sit in too much traffic.
Like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No
it's
doubt.
Not bad.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Miki, he's a really good friend of mine. We got connected through some other mutual friends, but man, I wanna hear your story, dog. For those that don't know, Miki owns and operates the Magnolia Park, which is a sneaker consignment shop, sneaker clothes.
Yeah, brick and mortar retail experience. We would probably be categorized in that resale consignment part of things. The one separator, you know, that we've always had is we also carry wholesale brands. So, like Billionaire Boys Club, Chinatown Market, for example, stuff like that. Yeah.
What was the vision behind Mag Park? What was the beginning stage? What was the dream? Why sneaker consignment? Why clothing? Why all of that?
Yeah. So, I mean, Magnolia Park in itself stands for a representation of just where I grew up. So like a rec park, right? A recreation park. And so I grew up in this neighborhood called Arleta. Its counterpart Pacoima might be known more.
Okay, yeah. I was like, I never heard of Arleta before. But okay, I know Pacoima.
So we share the zip code with Pacoima.
Okay.
So we're in that neighborhood, and I grew up in a park called Brantford Park, and that's literally where I met some of my best friends. My brother and I, still to this day, like last night, I had dinner with a friend that I've known since he was like 9 years old. You know, and so we've been a part of that community, and so when Mag Park, you know, short for Magnolia Park, we started, it was just the thought of building a community, which is funny because the first kind of like behind the scenes name for the whole thing was community without an I. So it was like Community Kicks, I think, at the time.
Okay.
And then it was like no I in community. Like, you know,
that makes sense.
Steal that.
Hey, Miki giving out free game over here, man.
You know, so we had that. We tried it out, and then you know, my partners and myself at the time were just like, you know what, like the neighborhood's called Magnolia Park. It's got a nice ring to it. The shortage of Mag Park was there, so it worked out. And you know, the overall goal to get to your core question was honestly just to create a space that like I knew I wanted to go kick it at when I was in high school. You know,
that's a big deal. Is waking up and be like, yo, no, I love kicks.
Yeah,
I love fashion. I love clothing. To be able to do that with your friends is
exactly. And so going through those experiences, like I remember just, you know, going to get like the new release or trying to get, you know, the small store owner to, she's like, oh, I could order them for you. I'm like, all right, bet. Like, you know, that whole vibe was just like something that always stood out to me. And so I think that's where the original idea was, just to create a space that felt like, okay, if I was in high school and I was hooping, like this is where I'd come kick it with my boys. You know?
Literally. I don't know if anybody listening or watching has had the chance to go to the Mag Park, but literally a space that you literally just want to kick it in, man. They got the big ass shoe wall. They got a half court set up. They got a DJ booth. Like, it's literally a place where I can imagine, like, if that's your spot and all your homies are there, you never want to leave.
Yeah, and we had that a lot in the beginning. You know, we actually had spaces for like kids to come do their homework, like, and that it really was just pushing the community and trying to do something like that. And you know, it evolved. We when we first opened up, we literally had like, you know, you're thinking store first, not really thinking.
I was gonna say, was it always a store, or was it at first a service and then turned into the brick and mortar when you got the space?
So and this is where I guess I could take it back, but the first time I ever got into retail, so before I even got into the store thing, I was DJing full time, like traveling, headlining Vegas, like doing all that stuff, like really deep into that game.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew
so
that.
Like I was a nightclub DJ for 10 years, traveled all of the Caribbean, headline Vegas was probably like I would say like when you're coming out of LA, like
Yeah.
that's your like peak.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh man, I had my own billboard, all that stuff.
Sheesh.
And so it was a good time. It was I was younger, so
Yeah.
like I could hang a little better.
I could imagine if me and Jordan
Yeah.
frequent Vegas kind of often, and if one of us DJ'd and
Oh
like
yeah.
we go out and we got to stand in lines to get our table and pay for the table. But if we got a homie that's DJing, you get a table right up front.
Pull up.
You know, homie DJing, you make requests, you can do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want. Yeah, it's a good time. So that was a fun era and built off, and that's where my original network really built from. And so when I was in that scene, I just wanted to do something else to get me kind of, the thought process was just like, I had to physically be there to make money.
Yeah.
And that part was like kind of like itching at me. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to generate income without having to physically be somewhere.
Yeah.
And so that's where my brother, he shout out to my little brother Andy, who we hoop with.
Yeah.
He started a clothing line.
Motherfucking steel machine, man.
He's
Jesus
always
Christ.
been that guy. Yeah. So like Andy started this brand off of our last name. So Guerra is our last name. In Spanish, that means war. War turned into We Are Royalty Clothing. And then Andy was doing very like nostalgic design, selling tees out of his trunk in college.
Yeah.
And so he literally turned that into a whole business, to where we opened our own store in the neighborhood we grew up in.
Yeah.
And so that's really my first introduction into retail. And in hindsight, it was a great idea, and we had all the ambition in the world.
Yeah.
But we had zero knowledge when it came to retail. So we
Yeah.
really went in the dark. Andy had funded the whole situation. I was like, holding on to my funds, because I literally quit DJing cold turkey. Like I'm done. I'm out. Like I want to focus on something bigger than me, you know? And so we went for it, and man, just like growing pains, you know what I mean? Like we didn't know what a POS system was. We were like writing down every sale. It was just a whole learning curve. And unfortunately, like sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. We had a in that chapter there, but I did get a small taste of what consignment was. And I got introduced to spots like Riff, Flight Club in LA.
I was gonna say, at what period of time it was this? Because I know when I was in high school, which was around like 2009 to 2013, was like the sneaker shit. Like Fairfax was booming, man.
Yeah,
like,
it was booming, but it wasn't quite like where it took off, right?
Yeah.
Because I would say that Flight Club has always been a staple.
Yeah.
Riff has always been a staple, and then right around 2015 was when Round 2 opened up on Melrose. And I always felt like when Round 2 came into town, it was like right when Melrose started to like develop into what it is today. Now it's madness.
Yeah,
but
it's disgusting.
it's pretty
disgusting.
crazy. But we opened up, so the War store we opened up in 2013, the end of 2013. And then I ended up transitioning into what became Backside Kicks in 2014. It was inside of Backside Records, which was established in 1994. And they were selling like records, mixtapes. They used to host like Soul Assassins Radio. So like I saw Logic, I think Kendrick pulled up like way before their like
way before
flourish.
they were Logic and Kendrick.
Logic was like
his name probably wasn't even Logic.
It wasn't even on that, you know what I mean? And so they all blew up. Tons of artists came through. I think Linkin Park broke out of there. Like it's like a very historic spot.
Yeah.
And so they were like the spot for streetwear in the Valley. And so I just came in and we sprinkled our sneakers in there, and it turned into this like pretty legit business. So this was 2014. And then again, like, unfortunately some business matters didn't work out, and as you learn in this business, it's a real tough business to be in, because you got to balance not only like margins and the business side of it, but like there's definitely a lot of egos involved. And so like, just as you go through life and investors and like partners and different things like that, it's like you just kind of get a good feeling of what's right and what's wrong, over time. Yeah. And so in that case, that was what ended up happening with us is, well, we were growing and backside was not quite seeing the same growth in their
Yeah.
business. And unfortunately for them, unfortunately, they were in like one of the best like locations possible.
Yeah.
And this is in Burbank. So
Yeah.
this is how I actually ended up in Burbank. And we had our small space. It was like one wall, 150 pairs of shoes when we first opened. And then shortly thereafter, I think like 6 months into it, we had like 1,200 pairs of shoes.
Damn.
And
And was that because that wasn't something that Burbank or the Valley had seen just yet? Was a space like that?
yeah, I think the approach, because I'm a Valley kid, like you know, being born and raised there, and you know, similar to my mentioning of the drive here, right?
Yeah.
Like you always know going over the hill,
Yeah.
and whatever factor
Yeah.
that is.
I try absolutely to stay
Right.
on this side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm blessed to have you come over for hoops.
Yeah.
Right? And even Glendale's kind of like a little easier because it's like right at the
Yeah.
cusp of it, right?
Yeah.
But when you grow up deep in the valley, you just like, you know, if there's a way to I don't know, fill your appetite without having to go over,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna do that
You're gonna do
because
that,
of
yeah.
traffic. You know, it just saves you an hour
Yeah.
if you think of the round trip. So the real approach there was like there just wasn't anything in the valley at the time.
Yeah.
And again, this is pre round two. This is pre everybody taking over Melrose.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot happening in the valley.
How has, round two coming in, cool kicks, all of that kind of helped? Because obviously, now there's a lot of competitors in that space,
Sure.
right? How has that changed the way that you guys operate? How have you seen Mag Park like develop now that it's like consignment has always been a big business, but now is a big brick and mortar business, especially in LA?
Yeah. No, I think they've brought a lot of attention into the space. I
Mhm.
think what I love about our world is like it's just developed so many like little entrepreneurs. Like these guys are like
That's true. That's true. There's kids making real money off of reselling shoes,
yeah.
man. And it's like the same shoes that I got sitting in my closet at my house that I have beat to death and could make some money off of. But it's just like the wherewithal to do that. Like that's not something I was thinking about doing when I was 12, 13, 14.
Not at all. Like I've had some real great conversations with like 10, 11, 12-year-olds just like, oh, like, well, how would you go about this? And then what about this margin? And I'm like, yo, like,
but bro, that really speaks to the differences in today's society, though.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to my younger sister who just graduated college, and she's trying to figure out what her next step is, bro. But she's so much further ahead of me mentally than I was when I was at that age.
Right.
Because with social media and all the resources that are available to kids today, bro, like there's so much stuff that they're pulling from, like knowledge, experience. Like, dude, there's kids editing fucking motion picture movies in 6 seconds on TikTok. Like, I can't even put together a fucking YouTube video.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say like some kid's gonna tell you like, oh yeah, when I turn 18, I'm gonna write off a G-Wagon because I learned it on TikTok in 15 seconds. And I can write off 50% of the car if I have an LLC. I'm like,
I'm still leasing my Honda.
Right? Like yo, like it's so much information out there, and it's amazing to see like where this next generation is gonna be. And that's like the gift and the curse, right? Because the gift is obviously they're way more advanced than where we were. The curse is the expectations that they think they have to fulfill.
Yeah.
And so the balance there, I can only imagine raising a child. Like, I'm yet to be a father, but like I can only imagine that balance has got to be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Because like kids feel like they are not living up to expectations because they don't have the G-Wagon.
Yeah.
It's just. It's a tough place to be.
I always tell people to take social media with a grain of salt. I personally feel like Instagram's not real, just in general.
Nah,
It's like, you post what you want to post, what you want people to see. Like even myself, like I'm, we have 24 hours in a day. I'm doing 24 different things within those hours. I'm not posting something every single hour. But I tell people to take it with a grain of salt because like you said, man, that shit can fuck you up. Like you see people the same age as you, younger than you, out here doing things that, whether they worked for them or not worked for them, they have something that you don't have, something you want. And that shit can get, it can get troubling. Like one of the big reasons I started this podcast was, the adjacency of it came from when I finished hooping in college.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out, what my next step was going to be in life. I had spent so much time playing basketball that I didn't have time for internships.
Right.
I didn't have time to go out and search for, what I wanted my career to be. I was
Right.
thankful enough to land in entertainment and be able to last as long as I have. But if somebody, I saw people my same age that had done internships with like Goldman Sachs and
Right.
PR firms and
Yeah.
are stepping into jobs as soon as they graduate college. And I'm like, dang, like, I wish that there was somebody like me that was putting out content to where I can like listen and be like, hey, look, man, you don't have to have this shit figured out. There's like, don't get caught up in looking at what everybody else is doing. You will find your own lane. There's so many things out there for you to be able to do.
So many people in you could look at it whatever era, right? Like that you've grown up in. But like there's so many different categories where if you just did something, whether it was good or not, like you would be flourishing in general, like anytime later. Like I always talk to my friends, like when I was at my quote unquote peak of DJing, like imagine if I was just like, if I even understood stocks, like I could have literally thrown any money to you. You could even have to tell me where you put it.
Yeah.
Like, but if you put any money into anything in 2012, 2013, and I looked at my like portfolio today, it probably would be like 10x, if not more.
Yeah.
But instead, I was spending it on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Like luckily one of those XYZs was sneakers.
Yeah.
That got me into what else I got into.
Who would have thought sneakers would be what it is?
Honestly, man, I had no idea. Like the culture's always been there.
Yeah.
You definitely. I mean, some of my favorite. I'll give you one like really fun story. But like I used to DJ in Vegas every so often. I used to stay with my boy DJ D Miles. Shout out to Darren. He let me stay on his couch, right? And this is the whole facade. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I got a residency in Vegas, but yeah, all right.
Yeah, but I'm couching it.
I'm couching it up, right? Because I'm slumming up, trying to come up. And so we're staying together. We get up one morning. Obviously, I'm in the couch. And then like he's like, yo, these True Blue 3s are dropping. I'm like, yo, bet. I think it was 2011, and we just pull up to Caesar's Palace, like Nike. They got a whole stack. At 1 o'clock, like,
yo.
Yeah, exactly.
On God?
Yeah. And we're just like, all right, what size are you? I'm like, bet. Cool, 12 and a half. They got 12 and a half. Like, it's like the rare joints. And they just have them sitting there, and we're just like, all right, cool, let's cop it. And then some guy's like, yo, there's some ones dropping tomorrow at the outlets. And I'm like, all right, dope. Like, we'll pull up, So we pull up to outlets. And, bro, I don't even know, like, what we're in line for. All I know is that we're in for some ones. They're not, like, they're pretty rare. So it's all right, cool. Get in line. It's like 14 people there. Jump in. And then there are these band ones, right? Jordan ones with the X
with the X on the back.
Yep. And you're just like,
it's like how much is that today? That's like a
they're 2,500, like $2,000 to $2,500. And so I was in line, and $110 at the outlet, and then they were like, yeah, if, you're like, you could come back in line and get a second pair. So I call up my brother. I was like, yo, you want a pair? Like, it's my treat, whatever. Yeah. It's like $100. Like, I got you. So then I got his size. I had my 12 and a half. And then that ended up becoming like one of the most sought out after Jordan ones, like way before all the other joints came out, the original band one.
Yeah. And
then here's a funny story that'll connect us even more. Shout out to Mike Mitchell, right?
Mike the Compass,
right? A sneaker life. This guy's got every other name.
Yeah.
So me and Mike link 2000, I think 17. And we're chopping it up. I take him to a lounge in like Studio City, and Mike is a great guy.
Yeah.
And we just start linking. He's in the sneaker world. And then I get it. I was like, yeah, we should connect. Like, on some other, like just with Mag
also,
or whatever.
You talk about free game. Like Mike is like the influencer's influencer. Yeah. He's Mike is the nicest dude ever, but like he moves in spaces at such a high level, but like so humble, man. Like we were in Vegas a couple weeks ago, and he was like, yeah, my guy's gonna help us get a table and yada yada. And we get to the table, it's like the best fucking table in the club. And we're like, Mike, like who the fuck are you? Like, man, this is just my friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Mike's amazing, and I put his number down, lo and behold, Mike was texting me in 2014 because sometimes when you type the number back in, you
get
see
the
a
old
previous
messages.
conversation.
Yeah.
He was trying to buy my shoes, the band ones. And so like it was just like a funny full circle.
Wow.
That he had hit me many years ago on some other shit, connecting for some shoes, and then here we are finally like connecting together. Anyway, that shoe ended up being like my favorite shoe of all time, and the reason it became so significant was because when I did have to close one of the stores to open what became Backside Kicks, when I was like running out of dough, like I had to sell that pair of shoes. That's why Mike was even in my messages. And like it was that shoe where I was like, when I'm doing fine, like I'm gonna buy that shoe back. Like that's gonna be my moment where I'm like, I'm good. I went through it.
Yeah.
And I ended up selling that shoe to some guy in like Indonesia. And when I finally was doing like better 2000, which was 2017, things turned around in a big way where we got an investor involved into the shop, into Mag Park, which was a blessing and a curse itself. But like, I ended up buying like 3 pairs.
Oh,
like,
shit.
Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna have this shoe. Like,
one to rock, one to stock, one to
just like, I don't know. It'll be there. You know, I think I ended up, I ended up selling it to, this is not a flex, but good friend, Adam Levine.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had hit me. We're the same size.
Yeah.
And so
I was going to ask, obviously you see like, you got your little dude Ben Kicks, you got Jaywalk, you got a ton of people out here that do like that high profile clientele.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of stuff that comes with that space too?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not the guy that's
and it's never like like, oh, I sell kicks to X, Y, and Z, but like the way that you're moving in the space, like I would hope that that's well received by everybody. It's like, oh, I want to come get my kicks from Miki because I know he's like, even me, bro. Like Miki will. I'll hit Miki and be like, hey, you got it? Like, bro. Like, I'll get it for you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's the part that comes with it. With so many years, like, there's obviously like the clout that comes with like, oh, I had so and so in the store, or shout out to Cool Cakes. They do a great job of creating content.
Absolutely.
That might not be how I approach it. And that doesn't mean I don't like what they do. Like I think I got nothing but love for those guys.
There's appetite for what they're doing in the space.
For sure.
Because everybody like we talk about, there's a culture around sneakers. Like everybody wants that lens into the culture. And
if I was younger, I'm like, y'all better watch out. I'd be outside. But like I've partied my years off, and it's been fun. But now it's like a little different, right? Like I'm playing kind of a different game. But that's the beauty of this game. Like you can have a long range 3 in your game, in your bag, or you could be killing them with the mid range. It don't matter. Like
don't forget about that mid range,
right?
Man.
Don't forget.
One of the things I love about Mag Park, especially, is that obviously you've been in this game for a minute. You've seen Mag Park change from what it was even before it was Mag Park to what it is now.
Yeah.
And it's become a brand of its own.
Yep.
Round 2 does something very similar with Sean has his whole vintage thing and spun Round 2 off into its own brand.
Yeah.
But talk to me a little bit about the ways that you've been able to spin Mag Park into something more than just a store, like something that is actually wearable. Shout out to the hat that you're wearing.
Yeah. So I mean, with Mag, that was always the direction with it, right? Like when I was growing up at Brantford Park, like you always wanted to rep your squad. You wanted to rep, oh, if I got made it to the all-star team, like I want that jersey, And so I think for us, we always just had an approach where typically most of our quote unquote merch, or I would say our private label brand, is like very athleisure, athletic vibes, and just a representation of us. And I think, early on, shout out to my boy Kais, like Kais was a big influential part of our growth because he really grew up with us. And as he grew up, so did our brand. He put us on, he was really instrumental or important piece to putting us and like SneakerCon together, Mag Park. Actually, Jordan played with us on a Mag Park team.
I remember it. I think that was the first time I met you.
That's part. Yeah, it's true.
It was you. It was Jordan. I think it was B. Dot.
B. Dot.
Yeah. That was the first time we met.
Mike was on the team as well. and Mag just had its own basketball team, and put us all to kind of put us all together. And so Kais was a big part of that, like putting us in the light.
Mm.
And so you know, we became kind of a household name in that world. And you know, I'm blessed to have seen kids come in from out of the country and say like, I wanted to come here before Disneyland.
Yeah.
I was like, that's like, to me,
Yeah.
is like, it means so much.
Yeah.
You know. And so so we became a brand, and that's where really people wanted to take a piece of that. And when you bring up the hats, like, it's funny because it's something that's very recent for us, but you know, we've always had a New Era account.
Mm-hmm.
But most recently, there's been this huge wave that initiated from New York, which was like this colored underbrim part,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, yeah, I've seen the green underbrims, I've seen the gray underbrims, those are considered classics.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole like stigma of like a black underbrim called a black nasty.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's
I've
hard
actually
to
never
keep
heard
up.
that before.
Yeah,
All of my brims are gray.
right.
That's you know,
Because they're just classics,
yeah, it's just
right?
classic.
And so, and there's like a whole like set of preferences that everybody wants in the collector side of the hat world. But you know, we were given the opportunity to just basically colorize and do whatever we want with headwear with New Era.
Mm-hmm.
And July, I think it was like June, May or June 2020, I had the opportunity to like kind of tell a story through a hat. And I had been doing it with like just regular Dodgers. Like, I just saw a patch and I was like, oh man, like I love this patch. Like, I want to put it out. And this was like 2019, 2000, like early 2020. And it was just like the Dodgers' first World Series patch. And we put it on a black hat. And all I heard was, it's never been put on a black hat. So, all right, bet. We put it on a black hat.
It's on a black hat today.
It's on a black hat now, right? And then it just flew. And I was just like, damn, that's weird. So I said, okay, like, I got to make more.
Yeah.
So then I made that patch, and I made it in a bunch of different colors. And I was like, oh, I'll make them snapbacks because it'll cater to everybody.
Yeah.
Then this fitted wave comes, and I'm like, all right, like I'm gonna roll the dice. I've never seen a Dodgers brown hat. And I was like, let's just make a brown hat.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, like I want to see what that looks like with like a black brim.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, if this was just this one. And I was like, all right, if I'm making a brown or making a brown black, like I should make its sibling, the black on black.
Yeah.
And then pink underbrims was a huge thing. Shout out to Just from Hat Club. There's you can look up the story, but there's a meaningful story behind the pink brim. And then I was just like, you know what, this all kind of like just makes sense because Travis Scott's got this, Stussy Dunks has this palette, the Air Max Bacon now, right? Like the palette's there for a pink, brown, black colorway. And so we did it, and then it shows up, and it just looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like so hyped. Details we put into the patches, details we put into the story, and like we put them up. I don't even announce. I was so excited. There's no rollout. It's literally one set of photos. And I think the Dodgers were playing in Game 7 of the World Series that they would have won, and they did.
What do you need a rollout for? If the Dodgers going to
win the Dodgers are in the World Series, right?
Dodgers World Series. Here's this fire ass hat.
Yeah. So I just put the picture of the hat, and then the time for the first pitch, and we put them up. And we had, I'll say it transparently, like we had 300 units, and the brown sold out in 2 minutes. This two-tone, which ended up being everybody's favorite at the end, I think, but the two-tone sold out in 10 minutes. And then the black, which we had double quantity than any other hat, sold out the next day.
Jesus.
And so we had this like aha moment.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh wow, there's a demand for this. And so we just went, heavy into that. And then I ended up doing a second collection, which was called the Mango Lava. It was inspired by the Union 4, and it went crazy. Like we had a line at I think dude told me he was there at like 6 a.m.
Jesus.
And we had a line down the block.
That's crazy. That for me would be like that full circle moment, because I remember standing in line for kicks at some point in time.
Man, I heard the reason, and so we put this hat back out. The reason I put it back out was because obviously we can control how much we put out there.
Yeah.
But there's this loophole where other shops can order your hat. I won't get into that.
Okay.
But because it's just like, I don't care. It's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's within the rules. I have nothing to complain about because I've had an opportunity to be successful with it. And I just want to give people the opportunity to still get the hat
Yeah.
for retail. And I say that because like dudes were hitting me up and they're like, yo, are you ever going to drop this hat again? Because I was about to drop $200 on Grailed. And I was like, wait, what?
For a fitted.
For a fitted. And so I started looking around. Surely enough, like our hats are selling for $150 to $200 a piece.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. So then I was like, all right, yeah, I got to offer it again. You know? And so we've offered it now.
This was our gift to our community.
Yeah.
And the way that we want it. And people kind of just ran with it. And so now you had to bring it back.
Yeah, I had to bring it back. And so we brought it back a couple times. We've had amazing support. It's literally changed our entire business, like to the point where it's like it's just a core part. And so now it's just fun because, you know, becoming this accidental headwear designer.
Yeah.
Like
this is something that I kind of talked to Jordan a lot about. Obviously, as I try and move into the space myself and the experience that he has. Talking about like how, you know, everything that he puts out and designs and, you know, when he started doing all the anime collabs was because he fucking loved anime, man. And, you know, it's like it's crazy to see people support and identify with the things you love, and the reason that you make these things are because it's literally just something that you want to wear, to be honest. And so what kind of drives the way that you obviously did that, but the way that you look, you know, forward, and, you know, the collabs that you do, the pieces that you put out, like is it all like that sort of like I make it because I want to wear it, or is there a deeper meaning behind everything? Are there reasons to why you work with certain brands, certain people, you know?
Yeah, so like there's to answer the part where it's like, do I make what I want to wear? There's a balance to that. Because yes, I do want to do that,
but not everybody.
But not everybody thinks or wears like me, right? I'm not like, I wouldn't call myself a fashionista by no means, or like some sort of inspirational guy. Maybe for husky dudes. I'm sure we'll get into that. But like on that level, yeah. But in regards to what we do, it's just, I think as long as it's genuine and organic and people understand and translate, like I'm wearing these like cutoff sweats like that we made, like we custom constructed these.
Oh wow.
And like
I remember cutting all of my sweats.
Yeah. Shout out to my boy Ron Holden. He does this Ride for Black Lives movement now, and I'm super proud of him. But we used to work together a lot on Mag Park merchandise, and we were going heavy into cut and sew, making our own custom pieces, like risking it all.
Yeah.
And like when we put it out, we wouldn't get much of a reaction. Then, as people understood the brand, then they're like, yo, where are those shorts at? I'm like, man, where were you when they first dropped? You know what I mean? And then like now, like we have like nothing left. But it's like, yeah, we see a little bit of a delay when we try to put kind of what we want.
Yeah.
And then when you exactly what you said, I think for me, it's as long as it translates the brand, then I'm good with it.
Yeah. Like that authenticity, as opposed to like, you know, we're just trying to ride a wave.
Because even when I was making, so like when I'm making these hats, right, like, and that's understanding the communities too, right? Like, so with the hat community, I first was like, I'm only making Dodger hats. And then I realized like there's so many people outside of LA that rock with us.
Yeah.
And rock with our stories.
Yeah.
And so long as it's not like an LA story, I think people want to see it in every other team, every other city.
Yeah.
So
because it's like everybody has that, you know, like the Dodgers or the Lakers are for us.
Yeah.
Everybody has that team in their city. You know what I mean? It's like the way that we think about, you know, I think about, you know, rest in peace, my grandmother. I think about sitting at home watching every single Dodger game, you know, Vin Scully calling the game, just seeing her eyes light up when the Dodgers hit a fucking home run.
Yeah.
And those are the memories that I have with the Dodgers, and I can imagine there's a kid in New York that has those memories with the Yankees.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it was important for us to understand that, or for me to set my LA ego aside and say, you know what, like there's different ways for us to extend and expand outside of what might be our bubble.
Yeah.
And it might be selfish of us to just try to stay within that, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think our next phase will include it will include for sure, because we already have some stuff cooked up.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
talk
I
about it.
mean, I could say it because it's coming soon, but the pink mocha um colorway, which it was the three of them, but the two-tone is probably the one that speaks the most to us.
Mhm.
We're gonna drop in 12 different teams, like pretty soon.
Okay.
And I've previewed a couple of them to a couple friends, and it's really exciting
Okay.
because I think it's gonna be very, very a translation of what kind of like work we put into these things, because
Yeah.
people just look at it, oh, you put brown and black
Yeah.
and pink, like, oh, you put a Travis Scott into a hat, how hard is that? Like, yo, like we put like the amount of detail, if my new
Yeah.
era rep could speak, like, yo, I promise you there's a hat right now I'm working on. I could say it because like I don't think anybody's gonna cook it up in time. Nobody can cook it up in time. It's done. But like I'm making a hat that's an homage to In and Out,
Mhm.
because
Oh wow.
In and
Because
Out's
In and Out. Yeah.
yeah. So the main hat, and there's like a whole other set of like secret hats, but the main hat, I made the patch look like a burger, like.
Wow.
So like I'm like, yo, this is the lettuce, this is the secret sauce, this is the cheese, this is the tomato,
That's wild.
and it's in each thread.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So that when you step back on the side of this hat, like it's literally you're gonna see a burger.
Yeah.
And then it's like all like it took me 30 tries to get it to the exact organization I wanted it to. And then we get it to like the finish line. And I'm telling my newer reps like, oh yeah, I'm ready. Ready to push this out. And I said, you know what? Like, I want to change where the palm tree is at. Like, and then there's a palm tree on the hat, and I wanted to move the position.
Mm-hmm.
So like at the 9th hour, I'm like, yo, like, nah, we gotta move the palm tree. It's gotta be here. It's gotta be there. And so that's like, that's the like. It may not seem like a lot, I think, to people, but like,
bro, it doesn't.
It defines the product.
Exactly. It's the attention to detail, and the people that rock with you and understand, the journey and what goes into creating products. Because the world is a scary place, man. And to put the time and effort into creating something and not necessarily know how it's going to be received, but know the love that you put into it is different.
Yeah, and it's scary sometimes. I mean, when we put out that Mango Lava or that Union set, like I didn't know if I picked the right colors for the right piece of the shoe.
Yeah.
Like there's no sample. Like you gotta just like blindly do
Yeah.
it and be like, all right, do I want to get stuck with 100 units of this one colorway and it's wrong?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting approach and it's an interesting experience, but it's been fun, man. Like I think the one thing, shout out to West Cap Secrets, shout out to my boy Big Boy, shout out to my boy Goik, like all these guys have really created a community, like and it's a fun community to be a part of. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of good people there.
That's what's up. I mean, you talk about community. I want to tie it back to basketball a little bit, man. And I know that we hoop pretty often, so I know it's getting a lot of traction on social media, so a lot of other people know. Talk to me about your belly buckets.
Yeah, belly slap.
Talk to me about belly buckets.
Yeah, so belly buckets was just a hashtag for a minute. Like I would go play with my boy Chris and the Leverage. Shout out to Lee and Chris from the Leverage out in Orange County, and they the map had the camera set up, and so I would get all these highlights. Like, or low lights, whatever.
Lights.
Yeah, get some lights. And so, I get these clips, and I just start posting them up, and I just started posting, hashtag belly buckets, because it's no secret, I'm a little husky. I've always been that kid, and but I would always seem to earn the respect, from my peers, regardless of where I was in size, and so. It's something that's always been there for me, and whether it was a good day or a bad day, like I'd go home with a different kind of like perspective, and I think I put myself in my shoes, and I said like I didn't really have anybody to like look up to. There was like Escalade, from the N1, shout to N1 mixtapes, but there wasn't like any real like guys that you looked up to, and so I decided to just start like an IG account. And then when I started this IG account, like literally at the same week I started it, I got invited to go to a hoop run with Mario,
Mhm.
who comes and hoops
Yeah.
with us. And Mario's a character.
Yeah. Mario is a character.
And a half, right?
Yeah.
Like he's just a funny guy. And Mario is really tight with Chris Castellum. And he's at the hoop run, and we just started chopping it up. I guess Chris had just graduated into the belly category.
Yeah.
And so we're just talking about it, and it's just a fun conversation.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it, and they showed a lot of interest in wanting to spread the what we call the good word. And we just wanted to create a house of highlights for Husky Hoopers.
Yeah.
That was the real tagline.
I was gonna say, what I love is the representation, man.
Yeah.
I've had many a friend who's not as skinny as me, but will ball the fuck out of you, bro.
Yeah.
And this dude included. This dude included.
Yeah.
But it's like the representation, bro. And you talk about like not just adults, but specifically for kids, man, who grow up, and we talk about how rewarding social media is, but we talk about how dangerous social media is, and they see everybody that doesn't look like them doing things and don't necessarily see that for themselves.
I mean, I could remember wanting not to try out or not wanting to do this or taking off my shirt in the locker room. Like it just like real simple things like that. Or I'm sure that I know there's people who don't even like to take their shirt off to go swim, and they might not even be Husky. Like it's just this mindset that sometimes kind of holds us down. Yeah. And it's our self-esteem, and we just want to create a community to help empower those people. Yeah. And you don't have to be quote unquote overweight or Husky to be a part of this. Like this is just our way of saying like, yo, look, like
hoop is for everybody.
Hoopers come in every size.
Exactly. Basketball's for everybody.
For everybody.
I can go to Big Five right now, buy a court, buy a basketball. I'm a hooper.
Yeah.
You know what
facts.
I mean? Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. And then I've loved it. Shout out to Chris, because Chris and Mario both really run the account the most. But we get submitted so much stuff,
bro. So I see like YouTube influencers, TikTokers are hopping onto the wave, man.
Yeah. Like people are just on it. They're showing support. They're submitting stuff. Shout out to our boy Mac. Like I am Mac. 07.
That's the dude who in the park runs.
Yes.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Bro, that shit is hilarious.
Yeah.
That shit is hilarious. But
I love Mac. Yeah.
What I love, man, is that, and this is something I've talked about on previous episodes, is that nobody knows, that these things are missing in these spaces, or these things are going on, until people like you who have the platform to talk about them start talking about them, man. Because there's so many people out there feeling things who don't realize or don't know that there's other people that are feeling those same feelings.
Fact.
Feeling that same exact thing too. And it's okay to feel the way that you feel, but just know that you're not alone, man.
Yeah. I think I thought for a long time there, like I did feel like I was alone, right? Like, cause I didn't know any better. Yeah. And then when you start to have people like actually reach out to you and say like, or they'll hashtag you or they'll tag you, and you're just like, yo, like I'm not alone. Yeah. And I can't be afraid to just put that out there. So that's really how it all really started. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No doubt, man. Well, I appreciate you for coming to sit with me, man.
Yeah.
We talk every week because we hoop, but I appreciate, people getting to hear your story and learn more about your brand, your store, your movement, everything like that. Is there anything else that you want to say to the people before we kind of sign off?
I think that wraps it up. I mean, the one thing I can mention, I told you I was going to talk about it, or just mention it, but what's been fun about the journey from like start to present is next week or whatever this airs, right? About a week from now, my partnership with PacSun will be live.
Okay.
I've not been mentioning to you for a minute. Yeah. So PacSun is entering the resale space, and I have the honor of curating and sourcing and doing all that stuff for them. So that's been a huge accomplishment, I think, in my personal career.
Hey, man.
And so
that's huge.
It's gonna be fun.
Don't whisper that into the mic, yell it, man, because as soon as it happens, it's in stores, I'm giving you your flowers. Yeah. And what I love about, not just our friendship, but the people that we surround ourselves with, is that, I especially, I'm a speaker on behalf of myself. I want to see nothing but wins for you, you know, man. I
Yeah.
know sometimes that comes with losses, but
Of course.
you know, we're gonna celebrate all of these wins because they're wins nonetheless,
Facts.
man. And that's what I want for you, dude.
Yeah, appreciate that, man.
No
Thank you.
doubt, no
Thank you for
doubt.
having
This
me.
has been the Basketball Adjacent Podcast. I'm your host, Jerrold Smith. You can follow me on Instagram, all social media platforms at Jerrold H. Timms. You want to shout out the Mag Park and yourself?
At the Mag Park, at Hey Mickey War, MIKIWAR, and then at Belly Buckets.
Yeah, shout out the Network Studios for helping me get set up with my first in-studio podcast, and more is to come. We outside all summer, LA versus the world.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure to subscribe, rate, and tune in to the Basketball Adjacent Podcast on your favorite audio platform or always on Believe. That's BLEAV.com. Interested in advertising on the Basketball Adjacent Podcast? Hit me up on any social platform at Jerrold H. Timms. That's @JERROLDHTIMS. And stay tuned for updates on bi-weekly episodes and what to expect next.